Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
You know what? That's absolutely right, John. And to make sure that we keep it positive, we have decided to make this here episode a drinking game. Anytime we say anything negative about a film, you're going to hear this sound.
There it is.
That sound means that we need to take a drink, and we hope you at home take a drink with us.
Yeah, little fun fact. The first time we tried this, the entire system crashed when I hit that button. So pour yourselves a glass and let's hit the prairie.
Your beer crack on cue was really great, though.
That's a shame. It's a shame that one crashed out.
You didn't want to crack a second beer here at the beginning of our episode. All right, what are we doing today? We are doing Jane Campion's The Power of the Dog, people. That's what we're talking about today. Thanks for joining us. It is available on Netflix, as it has been for a while. Definitely some award season buzz. Not that that matters, but why not mention it out loud? As always, if you're new to our podcast, we try to keep it spoiler-free for a couple of minutes, say like 10 minutes or so that you can get our initial takeaways, what we feel, what we thought leaving the movie or even during the movie, as opposed to giving you some cinematic background and some horseshit review. Talking about how
this one is on Netflix, so it's what we thought as we left the couch.
That's right.
Yeah.
What we jotted down when we went to go pee halfway through. So yeah, spoiler free for 10 minutes, and then we'll send you on your way if you were trying to gauge our reaction to the film before choosing to see it yourself. But before we dive in, we have to send it over to our buddy John to shout out our people. John,
good luck.
Oh, man. We have a beer sponsor, and his name is Carlos Barroso. If you want to give him a follow, head on over to Instagram at cbarroso.beer. That's CBARROZO.BEER. And as always, the music you hear on this episode and every single episode is provided by the artist Dasein. That's Dasein, Dasein. God, I'm out of it, you guys.
That is hands down the slowest you've ever done that, I think, since we started the show.
Folks, I am recovering from COVID. How long did it take for the entire hosting team of The Love of Cinema to possibly get super sick within a couple weeks of each other?
Yeah,
we don't even live in the
same
same
get
city.
It through Zoom.
Yeah.
We're a coast apart, and this thing we could not evade it. But anyway, I'm here. I'm ready to talk about Jane fucking Campion.
Just before we do, did anyone see the article in the New York Magazine today with just a quick sidetrack? Joss Whedon talking about the accusations against him. He's finally come out and said something about it. And in true, like, well, this is still ongoing. Like, Ray Fisher's still saying things. Like, everyone's coming out saying he was a terror on set and stuff. So he thought he'd do this article finally and say his piece. And basically, he insulted Gal Gadot, saying English is not her first language. She must have misunderstood, and said that Ray Fisher was cut from the movie just because he's a terrible fucking actor.
Wait, hold on.
So his response is to come out and be the arsehole that everybody said he was in the first place.
Wait.
That's going to fix it.
His apology is to be arguably worse?
Yes. Well, no, apparently it was still worse on set.
Worse.
But like,
oh, yeah.
Jeez. So yeah, points for thinking. Joss, that one's for you.
Yeah. Oh, if you're playing the drinking game, you have to drink with Joss too. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Thank you, Dave, for shouting that out. Any other news we want to get to before the Power of the Dog conversation?
Let's get straight into this now.
All right, people, this is Jane Campion's The Power of the Dog, a movie about how Kirsten Dunst loves soft gloves.
I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Sorry. This is The Power of the Dog, an American pre-prohibition Western melodrama scored by Johnny Greenwood, starring a British man about a business owner with brother issues and the adoption of a fatherless boy. Yes, this movie sure is one of a kind.
I know, dude. I know. Honestly, take a drink, but we have to call it out, right?
This is getting like buzz, like of not the buzz we have here. It's getting buzz of like the film of the year. People are calling it the best film of the year and all that sort of thing. So obviously, there's some people are enjoying it. I'm curious to hear what you guys thought.
Wait, hold on a second. Here we are. We shoot from the hip here. We try to keep it positive. And Dave just said some people are saying good things about this movie. This is our fucking movie. This is the movie we're talking about today. This is from the Academy Award-winning screenwriter and director of The Piano, Dave.
Yes.
That's
yes,
hilarious.
it is.
Okay, we'll get back to you. Anyway, so yeah, There'll Be Blood reference, of course, but this is based on the 1967 novel of the same name by Thomas Savage. Savage was a gay man, though not openly at the time. Parts of the plots and characters were sort of based on his teenage years growing up on a ranch in Montana. Hopefully it's not all based on his life. Hopefully some is. And I want to say one thing really quick about this before we talk about the movie too much. This is on a lot of lists. So I was listening to a podcast where they put this really high on a list. There were a bunch of people talking. I respect these people very much. And they said something that, if you're here for the spoilers, I'll get into. That doesn't seem spoilery, but it really affected the way that I watched the movie.
Oh no!
So, and I'll tell you guys. I'll tell you what the word was. Like literally a couple words. They're like, oh, it has this and that, and then that. And I literally watched the whole movie like with completely different eyes because they said that. So when we get into our initial feel of the movie, just know people. I don't know. We can talk about it, but
okay.
This is a melodrama to me, and that's not the spoiler. What I mean by that is don't expect there to be a lot of plot up front. That's what I'll say about that. It's very dramatic, not a lot of characters. They all talk about the same things. It's like opera, you know? The best arias ever are like 4 sentences that they drag out over 3 minutes. Like, in some ways, that's what this movie is shot beautifully. But when we get into the plot, when we get into the story, maybe my request to you guys is to save it as much for the spoilers as possible because it changed the way I watched it. But that's my preamble. Any questions about that before we go on, or anything you want to say about that?
Nope, we're good.
I'm intrigued. I can't wait to get to that section.
Okay, cool. Hopefully everybody else listening is too. Stick around for us, folks. Okay, cool. And tell your friends. Like and subscribe us. Dave set up a link tree so you can find us on all the socials. They're in our episode notes right now.
It's so easy.
Yeah. Okay. So Jane Campion, Thomas Savage novel. The Brit that I mentioned, of course, is Benedict Cumberbatch, who definitely practiced his walk. He definitely practiced the way his cowboy walk. Come on, you know he did. Okay.
No, he just never ridden a horse before, and that's what it does to you after the curse.
He rode it. He was like, whoa, his legs all of a sudden are a couple feet wider when he...
Oh my God.
Sorry, I'm buzzing John, but it's really for me. Okay.
That's so funny.
Okay,
Jeff has
cool.
coordination issues.
Benedict Cumberbatch and Jesse Plemmons play Phil and Georgie Boy Burbank, respectively. And they are ranch owners in Montana. I saw the date 1925. So in and around 1925, Montana, pre-prohibition.
Dude, how much does Montana look like New Zealand?
Actually, interesting thought. More weedy, more like light browns in the colors, but
a
lot of terrain in Montana. It's not just
this was actually shot in New Zealand.
It was shot in New Zealand.
You dickhead.
And you get one for not researching.
Yeah, Jane Campion, dude. She's a New Zealander, isn't she?
She's from New Zealand. Yeah,
dude,
I really wanted to say by an American filmmaker.
If you're not filming in New Zealand, if you're filming in New Zealand, that's the only way you get Thomasin McKenzie to turn up and be a maid.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a second.
How the fuck did they do that? Yeah,
I know we usually get into the movie a little bit more here, but you know, there's some people that are like, the Coen brothers sent me a script, so I just said yes. Why would I even read the script? Thomasin McKenzie's agent, read the script. She's a star now. She's the lead in one of the best movies of the year. And here she is. Her like first 2 scenes, she's like the third. She doesn't even speak. I was very surprised by that. But kudos to her. Being everything while you're young. Isn't it good to be young? Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, so get out of here. Okay, so Benedict Cumberbatch, Jesse Plemmons play brothers. Kirsten Dunst and her son, she plays Rose Gordon, and her son in the film is played by Kodi Smit-McPhee. I don't think it's much of a spoiler to say that he is getting a lot of Oscar buzz. He won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actor in a Movie for playing Peter Gordon, who's a young teenager. I mentioned about Tom Savage. So yes, he is questioning his sexual identity, and he might also have a little bit of a speech impediment. So he has got a lot to work with. And then I think they mentioned somebody named Bronco Henry maybe like 600 times in this movie. But other than that, none of the other characters have names, so no need to get into any of them, except for Thomasin McKenzie. And shout out to the housemaid as well. The housekeeper, shout out to her. And the brief storyline this is on IMDb.
The storyline's brief. The movie's 2.5 hours.
That's right. Is it 2.5? It's 2:06. It's only 2:06. Dave, you're not supposed to tell people how you think about the movie so obviously. It's 2 hours and 6 minutes. Charismatic rancher Phil Burbank inspires fear and awe in those around him. Sorry.
Charismatic is the word.
Who is, I don't know who writes these IMDb briefs here, but inspires fear and awe in those around him. It's like, come on, did his mother write this? Actually, no, because she's in the movie. Maybe a biographer? I don't know. Charismatic rancher Phil Burbank inspires fear and awe in those around him when his brother, Georgie boy, brings home a new wife and her son. Phil torments them until he finds himself exposed to the possibility of love. I'm going to leave it at that. Guys, I guess Dave wants John to go first. So, John, what do you think of the film?
You're going to throw it to me? I'm like floating over here. I watched this in a feverish...
We're coming to Dave last.
Let me preface this by saying I watched this in a feverish stupor while I was sick. And
you probably did.
That may have added to my experience, to be honest. No, I don't even mean that as a negative thing.
No, that was for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was definitely for Dave.
This one, Jane Campion, I would call her not an avant-garde filmmaker, but she loves to play with like poetic and experimental, stuff. So this definitely is not a story-driven film. I was not expecting that, and yet she still kind of, took me for quite a loop in trying to figure out like what point of view we were supposed to be seeing this film from. Everybody is talking about Benedict Cumberbatch when they talk about this movie, and I think that's a mistake.
I do too.
It's not that he's not. I almost wonder if she set up her PR team to do this on purpose. I was reading articles about Benedict Cumberbatch in this movie last year. Like the way they were prepping everyone to be so anticipatory about his, let's call it what it is, Daniel Plainview-like performance of this, curmudgeon Western, same time period, Montana rancher guy. It's not oil, but he's still in the West. He's still angry. He's mean. He puts everyone at a distance. You're never quite sure what his sexuality, what the exploration of it has been. We can talk about that more. I'm not saying Daniel Plainview was a homosexual or non-binary, anything like that. I think she plays much more with Benedict Cumberbatch's character with that. I started enjoying this movie a lot when I finally let go of that perspective. When I started watching it through Peter's perspective. That's what this movie, I think, is about. And there were a couple moments that I don't want to get into yet, that as soon as I got a grip because of these two moments, this movie became really interesting to me. This is not a movie for everyone. This is a very challenging film. I have a friend who, I'll say, was such a good way of putting it. This is an intellectual friend I have. He's a very intelligent man. And we love talking about novels, literature, art, movies. He texted me after he saw this like a month ago or whenever it dropped on Netflix. And he said, "Don't you hate that feeling when you watch something that you know is brilliant, but you can't fucking stand it?"
I thought that about Annette. Oops.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, and I think there's a lot. My brother and I used to joke about like, Radiohead or somebody would drop a new album. We used to joke like, God, the more we hated it initially, the more we were going to love it eventually. And I don't know if this movie has that kind of traction, but it has stayed with me in a lot of really disturbing, hypnotic ways. I'm curious to hear what you guys think, and I'm curious to hear what other people think, because I think I was expecting something a little bit different with the way it wrapped up, but I don't want to talk about it yet. We'll get to it in a minute. Dave?
Good. Well, no,
I just want to quickly touch on what you said about the marketing people. When you consider when this movie dropped, it's dropped just after Spider-Man came out, which has Benedict Cumberbatch in it. And it's like we've got Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. So he's hot property right now. He's getting a lot of Google searches. And of course, what else is popping up when you search for Benedict Cumberbatch? So that might be why they put him front forward, because they knew it was gonna draw people in. And once you getting him in is half the battle.
It could be an award thing too, because I was like, okay, so you're going last here, Dave. So I'll go. I'll try to be quick because I want to get into the plot stuff and I want to wait to the spoiler stuff. So I started this movie and then I realized that it just wasn't you should be in the right mindset, I guess. And I will say, Johnny Greenwood's score, like he is so brilliant. We all know that, but the score really is incredible. And I think he understood. I started the movie, then I heard the little spoiler thing, and so rewatching it. So I had already thought what you just thought about Benedict, so I wasn't watching the second viewing from Benedict's point of view because there's other characters in the movie anyway, so it's not going to be exactly like Daniel Plainview. So sometimes they were shooting him really close, and they were like the most Daniel Plainview thing they did was when he like rubbed mud on himself and went into that ravine. That was like the most that he was for me. All the other times he was either playing at it or it wasn't, or he was just his own self, which of course is okay, but it was Benedict and Johnny Greenwood knew they were in a proper melodrama where there's just not a lot going on, but it's always very full and it's always dramatized to the fullest. And there's no need for any small anything. Anything small that seems small is actually really powerful and moving and whatever. It's very beautifully shot. I did really like this. I will say I really liked the movie. And it has stayed with me, but it is challenging. And it's not like I just left the movie like, yeah, what a good movie. It was like, fuck, man. Like that did weigh on me. So sorry to be vague, but I think that's where I'm going to leave it for now. Although the last thing I'll say is the first time I watched it before stopping it, I actually was like, good for Jesse Plemmons, because it was like this weird, like kind of Charles Bronson-esque at first, where it's like you never really know what they're thinking, which especially in Westerns, when you have so much camera time and there's not that much to talk about. They didn't have a lot of words, like it's hard to do nothing and just trust it, just trust your intention and stuff. And I thought Jesse Plemmons did a good job. He of course vanishes from the movie for a period of time. So there up steps Benedict and Kodi Smit-McPhee. But I thought the cast was great. So that's the last thing I'll say for this. And we'll come back to that. Dave, what was wrong with this movie?
No. For a start, I get nervous every time I see act numbers. And it's through no fault of anyone except when remember the Slipper Room here in New York used to do movie screenings, like Movie Monday, and I went to one of those one night, and there was a guy who had submitted his experimental film, and it had act numbers, and this is exactly what did it to me, because it started with Act 1, and it was just a whole heap of composited footage, and okay, cool, and that went for about 10 minutes, and then it went to Act 2, and it was more composited footage with a voiceover, and then it went to Act 3, and everyone started looking around. It's like, how long is this gonna? It went for 46 fucking minutes, and including a 10-minute sketch where a guy's pulling stuff out of a bag, and the woman's telling him that's not what I want, that's a tomato, or that's but no, it was, she wanted a tomato, and he had everything but a tomato in the bag. None of it made any sense, and it went to Act fucking 6. So like we sat there through this thing.
I don't understand.
I have no idea what you're talking about. What is happening right now, Dave? What the fuck are we talking about?
That's why I'm nervous about act numbers. So straight away I saw the act number and got PTSD. All right. I'm also not really a fan of the quick jump narrative sections where like this happened, then this happened, then this, and it jumps forward in time. It kind of, I guess the intention was there to throw you off a little bit. But for me, it took 45 minutes to set the scene in this movie, and that just came across as a tad self-indulgent. But I will say, once they set that scene, that last hour and 20 minutes is fucking phenomenal.
Where would you say that moment was for you? Like when the 45, where would you say that was?
It was around about, because I wasn't really buying Cumberbatch as a dick. He was just kind of, a bit socially awkward until
it was weird, right?
Until the piano banjo scene, where she's trying to play the piano, and then he just plays the song.
That's probably my favorite
total
sequence,
fucking dick about it. They don't say a word in the scene, and I was like, okay, they got me. He's a bit of a dick now, and it went on from there. So like they set that up perfectly, so that later on you're like, what's he up to?
Yeah,
and I felt like it kicked in after that, but it like the first 45 minutes was just really slow for me, and I feel like a lot of people might turn it off.
For sure.
So stick with it, because the way that you need to see the end of this, and like the last hour and 40 minutes, or hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm gonna mean this I mean this positively because, like, if Jane Campion was my friend, I would love to ask her, like, if she didn't have the clout of Jane Campion, award-winning, amazing auteur director, it almost seems like it's interesting you chose the landscape of a Western, like Jeff we poked fun at it earlier, but a Western set at that period to explore homosexuality, to explore obsessions with power, without it seeming a little derivative. There are some films that are iconic films. There Will Be Blood, Brokeback Mountain. There was something else you mentioned earlier that made me think of another one that kind of made me think, I wonder why she chose this particular genre to try to tell this story in, when the themes could have probably existed in any other period, and she loves period pieces. So I don't know. I guess I haven't done my research, but I'm so curious why she chose a Western to do it when we have seen those themes fleshed out so well in such iconic moving pictures from the last 20 years. That I also would just challenge people.
It could also
to
be because we've seen those themes fleshed out in all those.
Yeah,
she was like,
yeah.
Maybe she hasn't seen a homosexual Western, which is funny because the homosexuality part of it comes later. I know we're not in the spoiler section yet, but I promise you, people, it actually probably will help you get through the film if you know that there's something coming. But maybe that's the one thing, because it is based on the novel about the writer's, sort of loosely based on the writer's experience. So it would be dishonest to the novel to change the genre or move it.
So should we send everyone in a way and get into spoilers?
Yeah, we like the movie. It's a little challenging, and it's beautiful. It really is shot.
The first 40 minutes is going to be hard. Stick with it.
There's some touching things in the first 40 minutes.
There are. But I don't know. I would have liked to have seen just a little more setup on how he got her to say yes, just to make me a little more invested in that happening.
Wait, that first date wasn't hot for you when he showed up and he's just reading hot sauce ingredients off the back of the bottle?
It was lovely seeing them together again.
This is Jesse Plemmons, by the way.
Fargo season 2. They're together as a couple, right?
Correct.
That was nice seeing them on screen again. I like them a lot. Yeah, all right, go away, folks, and we're going to talk about spoilers. Watch this movie. Take it seriously. 2 weeks in a row, we're talking about experience kind of movies. So this is not one to put on to just be entertained, for sure.
Yeah, don't invite your friends over with beer and sit down and watch this.
Also, COVID's still around, so give it another week before you invite your friends over with beer. Okay, I'm kidding. Okay, spoilers.
Dude,
okay, so I'll tell you.
My first thought was things are not going to end well for that bunny.
The bunny?
Yeah, but I did not see that coming. I knew the bunny wasn't going to end well, but I did not know how it was not going to end well.
I had no more trace in my head with the bunny, but of course it's Fatal Attraction.
Yeah.
The bunny.
No bunnies in
I'm glad
films.
that you harped to the bunny.
Watership Down, Fatal Attraction. No bunnies in films don't do well.
All right, so I know this is based on a novel that I have never read. So just standing alone as a screenplay and as a film, like I said, for me, the two moments that made this movie, that changed it for me, and looking back on it now, it's a much more interesting film than on the front of it. When Peter recognizes the barking dog in the hills, when Cumberbatch says, Buffalo... fuck is his
Bronco
name?
Henry.
Bronco Henry.
Bronco Henry.
Man, he's obsessed with that guy. Bronco Henry.
Jesus Christ.
Good Lord. Held him naked in the snow. Jesus.
Also,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
A lot older than him, too. Bronco
a lot
was
older
50
than him.
when he died. And
he was his age. Yeah. Same age difference. Anyway, so when they have this scene, Benedict Cumberbatch and Peter, and Benedict Cumberbatch is saying, Bronco Henry taught me how to see things differently. Like, when you look at those hills, what do you see? And Peter says, a barking dog. And Cumberbatch is like, you just see that? You see it like that? And so already you know that there is some kind of status that is being played with, some kind of perspective, gift, whatever it is that Cumberbatch...
Could you see the dog? Because I couldn't fucking see it. I paused that thing. I'm trying to figure it out. I was like,
Dave, you don't know how to see it. Yeah. You don't know how to look.
No, and I don't think it matters. And then to tie the bow, maybe 20 minutes later when they're together in another scene, when Cumberbatch is kind of taken to young Peter, They're alone together on a trail, and Peter is telling him about how his father, who has committed suicide, used to say when he was a young boy about Peter that Peter was too strong. And knowing what happens for the rest of the movie, that Peter eventually seeks revenge and kills Benedict.
You always get to the real spoilers so quick in the spoilers.
Sure. This is a revenge tale. Kills Benedict, maybe killed his father, and killed an animal. When I look back on this film,
think he killed the father,
when I look back on this film as the coming of age of a serial killer, it's a much more interesting movie to me.
And the thing is,
this is about a killer.
You don't find that out
to be
until the
surgeon.
last 5 seconds of the movie, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Holy fuck, he's a serial killer." This is just a really long Criminal Minds episode.
Or maybe he will be a surgeon, and he just like doesn't mind if the person dies because he, and at that time with medicine, I don't know.
The stuff he's got going on, he's probably gonna be a dentist. To be honest.
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he does.
He's the dentist from Little Shop of Horrors.
I think he could be. I think he could be whatever profession he wants to be. He's just also going to be someone who we know by the time he's gotten to that profession, he's killed animals for fun, and he has killed multiple human beings, possibly multiple human beings.
He can be whatever profession he wants. He's just going to be that profession in jail.
I mean, so again, what do you guys think about that? The way I thought it was, I still am. What I think her biggest achievement is that if she did this consciously with the way she set up the PR and stuff, genius. The way you had to eventually discover that this movie is about him and his violent ways, and it had nothing to do with the way the movie was pitched to you. I thought that was really surprising and refreshing.
Here's a perfectly innocuous Western with a fucking firecracker hidden in it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what the spoiler was. And it's so simple. So I had started the movie, as I said. So I watched 2.5 chapters. So like 35 minutes into the movie. And I'm listening to this podcast that I like and I respect them all. And they go, and there's a twist in this movie. It's not quite an M. Night Shyamalan, like pull the rug out from under you twist, but it definitely was a huge twist that makes you want to see the movie again, knowing that the twist happens. And they said it like that. And I was just like, well, fuck. Now I'm going to be watching this movie just being like, well, what's the twist? Because that's like the only thing that they talked about. And the movie opens with Peter's line about his mom and dad. And he's like, I'm never going to let that happen again. Like the father, clearly his father abused his mom, Kirsten Dunst. And Peter says, I'm never going to let that happen again. And so did I know that the twist was going to be he turns into a killer? No, but I certainly was like, well, she wouldn't open with this arbitrary line for a character that we're going to see 5 minutes of in the first hour of the movie, unless it was huge. So it really
Jeff,
changed the whole way
when does he say that line?
It's a voiceover at the opening of the film. We haven't even seen a frame of Montana yet.
Yeah,
that's a voiceover.
If you're paying attention and you go back, the signs are there.
That's how it opens the movie. And then as soon as he finishes that, like, I'm never going to let that happen again. It's like chapter 1, whatever. And then it opens on the ranch and Benedict Cumberbatch. And then they're doing their first like steer fucking grazing or whatever. I don't know anything about ranching. Wow. Yeah. That's how the movie opens. So I was like, I didn't know I couldn't foresee the plot. I'm not going to pretend like I have foresight, but it changed the way I watched the movie. So anytime I saw Benedict, and there were a lot of things, like even the way he looked at the mountains, and this is not an actor thing, this is a director thing. And I want to be clear to people, because sometimes there are people who are like, I don't like the way he looked at the mountains. The medium close up on Benedict looking at the mountains was he sat there for like 4 minutes, stood there and just like gave a bunch of looks, and then the editor and the director get to decide which one's in the movie, you know what I mean? But he looked at the mountains like there was something horrible out there. It looked like The Village. So when we found out that it's just the face of a dog that he's looking at, and I was like, all right. And even if you say all the other Bronco Henry stuff, there was a lot of that where I was kind of like, they clearly were just trying to lead us down false trails a lot in this movie. Psychologically, of course, it's not plot.
I don't know about trying.
What
they
I would
did.
Say
they succeeded.
Yeah, and they succeeded, and they definitely did. But what I would say to people talking about the twist, because everybody keeps talking about the twist, stop. It's not a twist. It's just plot.
Yeah, it's a progression.
It's melodrama.
Like it's not a.
It's melodrama. If one person dies in melodrama, then that's standard fare. That is not a twist. That's just what it is. So all they're saying is like, "Oh, somebody dies in this movie." And I was like, "Well, I fucking hope so, because otherwise, what was I watching?"
Yeah, it's the Old West. Like, fuck, dude.
One person died in this movie. That's plot. That's not a twist.
How many people died of dysentery on the Oregon Trail? Come on.
Yeah, it's more of a bait and switch than it is a twist to me. That's what I think.
Game reference.
I'm trying to think of another. Can you guys think of another movie that kind of used a supporting character to eventually usurp the seeming protagonists.
It did come across like that too. Like it was like as he gained maturity, he gained power, and as he gained respect, he gained power, and the seesaw went the other way.
It did kind of remind me of
he was
another
awesome.
Western.
We should just say
kind of reminded me of No Country in that aspect. That as that movie continues, you start to, in a more charming way, I think, kind of start to fall for Shiga, or however you pronounce his name, Javier Bardem's characters.
Yeah.
I fall for Javier honestly, all the time.
I mean, it's pretty easy. What did you guys think about how her balance between the moody kind of tonal shots that are, prevalent throughout the film and the way that they created the cadence of time? Dave, you talked about how, because this is basically a linear film, but it does jump pretty, it doesn't go back and forth.
It settles
just
down.
Jumps forward.
Yeah, it settles down later, like once it gets into the main event, I would call it, like into the main progression of what the story is actually about. But the setup is chopped.
Yeah.
There is a fair passage of time there that they skip over. And I felt like, to me, that was a little clunky.
Yeah. There was a moment there where I was thinking, are these actors in these roles more interesting than the characters themselves? There was a time where I was thinking that, like, if on paper, if she didn't have the star power of Jesse Plemmons, Cumberbatch, Kirsten Dunst, these faces that we knew, not Peter, again, because that was perfect that he was not a huge star.
He is now.
There were times where I was wondering, like, would this just read like a tonal kind of experimental film without those huge actors in there, where we kind of invested meaning in them because we kept assuming, surely that's going to matter. Surely that's going to matter. I felt myself kept saying that over and over and over again. So that's still a filmmaking technique. I'm still giving her credit for it.
That's kind of relying on the star power to hold the interest of the audience a little bit. Like,
did you feel that at all, or did you feel like it was effective if you did feel that, or did you not resonate with that at all?
Not at all. For me, no. Like I said, the first 45 minutes, it was a slog to get through for me.
I appreciated the intensity behind their eyes that I don't know if ranchers in Montana would have actually had. So again, I'm going to keep using the word melodrama until it's beat to death, but it was all heightened. Everything was heightened into this. Like, the brothers weren't going to kill each other, but they looked at each other like they were going to kill each other. So I don't know if that's the best. It's not 100% realistic. I think it's okay for us to admit this is not a realistic, what would happen? This was definitely stylized.
I did like the way it was
shot.
Talk about
performances.
Yeah, there were good performances.
Yeah, dude.
Wait, what did you say, Dave?
I did like that they used the Alexa Mini LF again. The thing that's designed, it's designed for landscapes, basically.
I'm staring at it. Benedict in the foreground, and then in the background is green plain with the brown mountains with the blue sky. I'm staring at that image right now, and it's like, shit.
Mm.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was kind of stuff you
it
want
was
to hang
beautiful. I think I loved just as much as the landscapes, the contrast in the interior. That house was incredible. The blacks, the shadows.
It looked like a lot of natural light with a little bit of filler here and there when they couldn't get to natural light, obviously.
Yeah, I loved how gothic it felt on the interiors. Like,
that house felt oppressive.
Gothic,
it felt
they
oppressive.
felt like they were ghosts of themselves, like haunting their own lives.
Yeah.
It was really unsettling. All the interior stuff was really amazing.
It felt like the walls were made out of paper too. It felt like the walls were made out of paper.
Yeah, and we already talked about it.
Like they were in a house of cards or something.
We already talked about it, but without a doubt, my favorite sequence in this movie was the piano banjo duel.
Me too.
That was hilarious and unsettling.
You knew she was fucked if she had to play for the governor, right?
That was pure melodrama. Benedict's look when he looks at her down the hall. I mean, it's just so intense.
I mean, the only thing missing was him flipping of the bird at the end of that, really, to be honest.
Ooh, when he saw her sucking down the whiskey in the alley and he whistles the tune. That was haunting too.
I had flashbacks to Gaslight at that point.
Exactly. Yeah, dude.
Nice.
Me too.
Those sequences, though, the way with, again, me knowing that there's a quote unquote twist watching this, honestly, the way that it was filmed and it was so surreal, I wouldn't have been surprised if the twist was Benedict wasn't alive. He was never alive. Or it was a Shutter Island. Like, seriously, that's how weird this movie was, knowing that there was some kind of twist.
Wow.
The way he seemed like he was in a different movie than everybody else, but not in a bad way necessarily.
Yeah, I could
But
see that.
It seemed like Shutter Island, where it was like, okay, everybody's playing along with him because he's not real or they're not real. Or I don't know. It was weird. Okay, sorry. You guys talk.
No, you're right, dude. It was weird how little Jesse Plemmons and him actually had legit conversations. It was
Georgie
very
boy.
strange.
And
The
whole
Tom Catton, the lines were weird.
The lines
Georgie
were
boy
weird.
doing a little bit of Tom Catton. I was like, what the fuck kind of movie
yeah,
is this?
and all
But I
of
liked
all of
it. I
their
did. I
lines
wanna
too,
make
like their dialogue to each other was as short as possible.
Yeah.
Like that was a really
4 lines that took 2 minutes.
I felt
yeah.
that like that. I felt like that was great. I've got to hit you for that.
Sorry.
But no, just that like they were so uncomfortable with each other. The only way they could communicate was in short, abrupt sentences, if they could communicate at all. And I that bit I liked. Like I liked that aspect of those two characters together.
What did you think about the character information about Benedict, that he went to Yale and studied classics and was like really
Unnecessary for me.
Yeah, did that do anything for you in the way you thought about him?
Nope.
Or
Nope.
Not a thing.
it could have though. I was like, don't plant that seed and then not try to, I don't know. I guess I wanted it to somehow turn it on its head, that one of the issues he had with why he was struggling with his own masculinity and overcompensatory behavior was something to do with his obsession, because he studied those things before he met Bronco Henry. So I thought they were going to somehow tie it into the fact that he's always been struggling with, I mean, was that just a gentle allusion to the fact that Greek gods and heroes, there's so much homosexuality flowing in and out of those stories?
I don't know. Usually experiment in college.
All right, let's talk other performances. Kirsten Dunst. Yeah, she loved those soft gloves, but she was, I don't know. I'm so impressed with her adult work. Like, she's come so far for me I feel like that she took so many years off there for a while after Bring It On. And man, I feel like she's done some really mature stuff in the past 10 years. This is some of it. I thought it was great.
I wrote, Kirsten Dunst is really giving a gripping, heartfelt performance that is inherently transforming her. Like she is in some of those scenes looked so frail and defeated and weak, and it's so against like 99% of what female characters are now, for all of the right reasons that we now have strong women in movies. And this is the exact opposite. And it was very surprising almost to have this person who is showing you as loud as day, I don't belong here. I don't
telegraphed.
I would rather be in the, like, I don't want to say anything that sounds, but like, yeah, it was really surprising. And then her journey, when you find out, because they don't just say she's drinking and you find out that kind of stuff, it's like, holy shit, she's been through abuse. So there is backstory. It's not just like Kirsten Dunst.
This is a woman as well who, like, it's possible that she said yes to try and better her situation because of the times. I'm not saying that in any derogative way. And she thought this was going to improve her life and improve like her son's life. And she gets taken to this house in the middle of nowhere where there's literally nothing for her to do anymore. Like, and there's nothing at all of her in the place. And she's just completely out of her element everywhere she turns. And then she's got this other motherfucker terrorizing her. So she turns to drink and slowly goes a little bit nuts.
Which again, not to compare it to another movie, but
and plays it well.
You just described Liz Taylor's character in Giant. There's so many. It's still just so interesting to me that she chose this story to explore all these things that have been explored before, and it still ended up being something different. It's just really an interesting achievement. Sorry, Jeff, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, let's say like a award season comes out and Jane Campion wins a bunch of shit. For me, it's like, of course, the way it's shot and all this stuff, but it's not even. You're right, John. You said it before, but it's not even the Benedict Jesse Plemmons brother storyline. It's the detail in the Kirsten Dunst family storyline coming into this. Just it happens to be told from the other person, from the brother's point of view, but the way that those two come into this, and you don't know their their intentions or whatever, and she has to do it, but she was sad originally, so it's not like she had a better life at the tavern. And so is she just doomed? Is it because of the abuse? Is there other, like, all of this stuff is so interesting and so curious and sad and heartbreaking, and also what happens at the end, it's also kind of inspiring. It's like, holy, yeah, that is the stuff that is staying with me. Honestly, no offense to Benedict, because Benedict really is one of our great actors. He really has given a bunch of performances that prove that he knows what the fuck, he knows how to be, a generational talent. But Kirsten Dunst and Kodi Smit-McPhee's storyline for me is like, that's the movie that stays with me.
As well, it never, like, it keeps it here the whole way through. It never goes to here. Like him getting sick.
Dave's using his hands visually for our audience.
Yes. It keeps it at 3. It never goes to like 7. In like, you don't see the major events like him dying and stuff like that. That all happens off camera. Right. And I think it just keeps you level and keeps you in the story, because you're not distracted by that drama that's going on over there that really has nothing to do with anything. It's just and
it was all just a brilliant sleight of hand, wasn't it? She needed a monster like Benedict Cumberbatch to create a diversion so she could pull off this magic trick.
And she did. There's no fucking way I saw this coming.
Yep. Me neither. I really can't think of another movie that
paused it afterwards
kind of
and I was like, holy fucking shit. Like, I'm sitting there on the couch. Holy fucking shit. Like,
yeah. And then they just castrate a horse right in front of you and you're like, whoa, those are actual nuts.
Oh my God, dude. I can't. That's fucking crazy, dude. Holy shit. That was gross. No gloves. The dude's like, you don't wear any gloves?
And he
He's
cuts
like,
himself.
Need.
I mean,
He's like, I don't know. There is a little bit of a need.
He loved touching that dick. I mean, let's call it what it is.
I mean, that's right. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, I think we really have touched that's the essence of it. This is a big magic trick. And I think if you can tap into that, even after the fact, you don't have to know this going into it. You shouldn't. But I think if you can allow yourself to kind of reflect this way upon it, you're going to realize this has a lot of hidden surprises that you're only going to get after the fact. Which, to go back to what I said earlier, there are a lot of ways to wear the cap of an experimental filmmaker, and somebody as successful as her, who has like straddled mainstream and more experimental places, this is one of the ways to do it, right? Get these huge stars that everyone feels accessible to. Get a storyline or a genre that people feel like, I know how to approach a Western, and then play with form just enough so that no one knows what the fuck they're watching until it's over. They think they know what they're watching the whole time, and they're judging it.
It's a Western. It's a Western with the emotional temperament of Wuthering Heights.
Oh, well said, Dave.
Yeah,
that's good, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, excellent. Good job. That's good. It does have a
occasionally
kind of
I say smart shit on this show.
Yeah, I should gush you for that.
Oh, come on.
I'm just having too much fun with this. I'm going to give it up for Johnny Greenwood's score one more time. That score has really fucked me up, like staying with me. And I love that what you said about don't prejudge the movie. Everybody judges it as you go. And this is the thing about watching it at home. Sometimes at home, you're like, well, I can just get up and pee because, I already know what's going on. And it's like, well, if you sat there in the theater when the credits started rolling, you'd be like, what?
Exactly.
Yeah. I'd love to see the theater lobby discussions on this one.
Is it bad that I thought... Sorry, go ahead. You finish.
Even for her grabbing Johnny Greenwood to write a score for a Western, like, we've been here, haven't we been here before?
You could use real instruments this time.
She knew what she was doing, though, dude. That was crazy. Like, this whole thing was like a gotcha. Like, we all thought we knew what this was going to be. Fuck us. Yep. Right? Jane Campion was way ahead of us.
Tell me if this is crazy, but that scene where Kodi Smit-McPhee's character at the end with the cigarette with Benedict, and he obviously has the power back. He's like, oh yeah, it was so good. And then it immediately cut to the horses, like right where like the sex scene would happen. I immediately thought of the Family Guy sketch where it was like, oh, it's Brokeback Mountain from the horse's point of view.
Oh God.
Literally, it was like they were smoking the cigarette together. They were sharing. I mean, come on. When Benedict Cumberbatch heard his brother having sex, he ran out into the barn and started stroking Bronco Henry's saddle. Like, this movie was like, it was laying it on so thick. How did we not know that this weak, obviously gay guy isn't going to use Benedict Cumberbatch's lack of confidence in his sexuality against him? Who would have thought that was where the strength was going to be, and then it was going to lead to death? Who would have thought? No way.
Power of the fucking dog, dude.
I think we've covered everything.
Jesus. All right.
Wow. Well, yeah, give us some feedback, folks. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. People are texting me about this movie. People are very curious what we think about this movie, and I can tell people are wanting to unpack it. I think we just fucking hit the bullseye. I really do. I feel good about what we just did.
Yep.
John, get a little cocky there. That's good. I like seeing that. Yeah.
Little Bronco Henry there. Wait.
John's got the gush. John's the resident Bronco Henry here on this podcast.
John's just gonna gush for gushing us.
I love that. It's so melodrama. The opening line is like, "Have you figured it out yet, fatso?" What, Phil? It's like, "How long it's been since we've taken over the ranch?" Like, come on. If I wrote that on page, people would be like, "This sucks." Jane Campion does it, and it's like brilliant. It's so good. Okay, sorry. We're still gushing about this. Fatso, when Benedict Cumberbatch said that, I was like, oh, he's got John Wayne in there. "Have you figured it out yet there, Fatso?" Like the way he did it.
Yeah, he really was throwing it in there. Just to push you guys' hair before we wrap this up.
We wrapped it up, and then I can't help myself. Sorry.
Where do you guys think this, maybe we need some more time to let it marinate because it's probably just going to grow more and more in our hearts and minds. But does it sit at the top of your list so far for your Oscar picks this year, or where does it sit for you?
Supporting actor, I'd probably say yeah.
Yeah, me too. I mean, shit.
Cool. Yeah, I feel very, very comfortable saying that as well.
Possibly also director.
In the conversation for everything else.
Director should be up there as well. Yeah.
Cinematography, score.
Yeah.
I think
isn't it
score,
exciting?
if it's Dune in this for score, I think that would be a fun little battle.
That would be a fun battle. I think Johnny should get it because Johnny should have gotten it for There Will Be Blood, but anyone who knows the story knows that he didn't get
Phantom
it.
Thread. Yeah, he was. Yeah,
so many things. Let's give it to him for this Western.
Dune won the Golden Globe. That didn't happen.
John, in case you haven't noticed as well, Phantom Thread popped up on HBO Max. I think it was.
No, it did, and
Netflix. Netflix, sorry. Yeah, Netflix is on. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There's other things on
cool.
HBO Max.
Let's wrap this up. Anything else you want to say?
Nope.
Go watch this movie.
All right. Yeah. Let's do a quick round of what you've been watching, where we say what we've been watching and maybe give some recommendations. Dave, what have you been watching?
John's been watching the inside of his eyelids.
That's right.
Dave, what you been watching? Actually, this week I caught the new Peacemaker series on HBO Max.
Shit. Yeah.
There's 3 episodes out. I could give you the same advice as the film we just talked about. Stick with it to episode 3, which is when it really settles down and finds its footing. That's why they released 3 episodes at once, I think. But the opening credits, I have watched, I would say 12 times because it's just fucking hilarious and I never skip it once. It's a song and dance number, dude. It's amazing.
Nice.
We recommend the opening credits to a TV show here on the pod. Okay, cool.
It's famous, dude. People are already mimicking it on the internet.
That's pretty fun.
I'll hit you with my sick movies that I watched over the past few days. A River Runs Through It. Oh my God, I love that movie.
Yeah. Meryl.
Big Fish. Not Meryl. Did you say Meryl? Meryl, not Meryl Streep. Yeah. Big Fish, Never Ending Story, and The Labyrinth.
Oh, so you've been on a fucking tear. John, you've been sick. Have you been able to see anything? Yes, actually.
How were your fever dreams?
Yeah.
They're all that
At one
shit.
point, I watched NBA players in my fever dreams that they were only like half a cranium, and they were somehow playing like a game of NBA like basketball, but they had no legs. It was just the top half of their heads. And they were playing. That was the best fever dream I think I had.
If we could record our dreams, movie making is fucked and everybody's doomed.
It's true.
We're just going to be twitching each other's dreams.
Yeah, and it's just endless David Lynch films.
I'm not buzzing. That's exactly what it would be. I watched almost all of Station 11. I got behind because like 1 or 2 episodes were slow for me, and then everybody was like, "It's great, keep going," and shit, it's good. It's Station 11.
I got
HBO
bored
Max.
in the first episode. So now that it gets better, I'll go back.
I liked 1, 2, and 3 were 2 is fine, sort of. Half of 2 is fine. 3 was a little slow for me, but all of the stuff it just takes off after that. Did I say that? I think I said The Stranger last week, and so. I'm not gonna lie, Chloe's still here, and we loved Cheer season 1. I did not expect to on Netflix. If I'm being honest,
it's number 1 on Netflix at the moment.
So Cheer season 2 just came out, and they're all famous now. And then the pandemic hits, and then allegations come out about somebody, and like all of it, like it is a fucking roller coaster. This fucking season of Cheer, yes, about like a Division III college in Texas Cheer program, but. It is really gripping, and I can't wait to finish it tonight. So
wow,
those are my I know.
Division III college in Texas. You're a cheerleader with no Planned Parenthood.
Now, to be fair, they are To be fair, get it with no Planned Parenthood. Jesus Christ. To be fair, these are some of the best cheerleaders in the country, and they win national championships. Go fuck yourself, guys. All right, it's a great show, and they're all fantastic athletes. And the pandemic
I'm having
really ruined their
flashbacks
life.
to your. What show were you watching? What RuPaul show were you watching?
RuPaul Drag Race UK. We had an argument about it all the time.
Yeah, man, you were.
That was a good one. Yeah. Okay, people, that's our Power of the Dog episode. We definitely have a Clockwork Orange episode coming out soon. I think we have next week figured out, right? Next week, we're back to the theaters.
Possibly.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, please like, subscribe, and we hope to see you again. Take it easy, film fans.